Hey, this is Butch Broadley. We're here at Drysdale's Gym, somewhere in beautiful Las Vegas, within the land of giants, and we're here to talk all things Max. So that was a good fight.
Time. Come on, Zach. There we go. Nice and easy, flowing.
Come on, Max.
That was cool.
Yeah, I was short, so I'm ready to get back in there kind of right away.
Eyes wide open, stay sharp.
Is it over in your head, or have you been over that fight a million times?
Yeah, it's pretty much over. Once the fight's over, I'm not really, especially that one where it's quick. And I didn't really make any mistakes.
Did you make mistakes, Coach?
This last one was hard. I normally I'm very critical. I'm always, even if it seems to be a flawless fight, I'll find something to work on.
Right.
But this one, I really couldn't see anything. So.
About you and what drives you.
So I grew up literally in the middle of a cornfield in a small town. Outside of the town's like 1,000 people, and I lived outside of it on the farm in the middle of nowhere called Killbuck, Ohio. Grew up trying like pretty much every sport. I think I basketball, football, baseball, soccer, swimming. I think I tap danced when I was super little. I did all sorts of stuff. My dad actually made me quit because he said it was.
You were a good
not
dancer.
Oh,
you
yeah,
were so close to being a dancer.
It was a promising career.
Seriously, you so were.
So I tried everything,
right.
And then so I just had like a lot of like stuff going on at home that kind of like made me like an angry kid. So like at school, I was always getting in fights and stuff like on the playground, and that's kind of like I was like the kid that like think about like the worst kid in your school that was always acting up and getting in fights and stuff. That was me, and I was probably way worse. So I was always kind of like that, but then I didn't really start wrestling until I was in the principal's office. I was 12, 13 years old, I think 6th grade, and the principal was the wrestling coach, and he was like, pretty much like, I've had enough of you, like, you gotta find something that's gonna like keep you focused and
out of jail.
And yeah, pretty much. Yeah. Well, when I was in 5th grade, my 5th grade teacher actually told me I was gonna end up in prison before I was 16. So like, that was kind of like how the trajectory I was going in. Principal talked me in the wrestling. I showed up, and since like the first day, it was like I loved it. That's all I really wanted to do. And so 12, 13 years old, I decided that's what I wanted to be doing full time as far as like outside stuff. So I would literally I would skip school to go train or practice. During lunch during school, I would go down to the restroom. I'd grab a buddy, or I would just go down to the wrestling room and like shadow wrestle or run and stuff while all the other kids were like socializing. I was waking up at 4 o'clock in the morning to go train before school.
Wow.
And I was 13, 14 when I first started doing this. I didn't really know what the like path was going to be for me though, because I was terrible when I first started, and I didn't really like my expectations weren't super high. So like I actually made a bet with my mom before my freshman year. The bet was if I ever make it to the state tournament in high school, so like if by the end of my senior year I make it to the state tournament, she has to give me a tattoo, right? And so my freshman year,
you bet your mom a tattoo.
Yeah. So my freshman year, I had an okay season. I was like 30-10 or something like that.
Right.
And I like upset a bunch of seniors who were 18-year-old guys.
Yeah.
Upset a bunch of them and ended up qualifying for the state tournament my first year.
Okay.
And that was like something that I wanted to do by the end of my career, by the end of my high school career. So I set like super low bars, and as soon as I kind of like broke through that super easily, I started setting my goals a lot higher, and ended up going wrestling in college, being one of the best guys in the country.
So your family though, your mom and you were tight, right?
Yeah.
I think your mom added me on Instagram
Yeah,
or something.
probably. She adds
but I know
everyone,
she was
and she,
checking
like,
me out like, who's this guy?
Yeah.
You know,
She does
I felt the mom aura. Like she was like, I'll keep an eye on him, honey.
Yeah.
You're right. So she's proud of you, right?
Yeah, she's super proud. So like when I first started wrestling, she, her and my whole family like hated it. Like they did not want me to do it at all, and that was like kind of weird.
Right.
But like I would like literally fight them to be like, hey, like I'm going to wrestling practice and you're taking me.
Right. They're afraid you get hurt, maybe? Is that it?
No, it's just like a basketball family. So like everyone like,
Right.
and in Ohio, like wrestling and basketball like butt heads. Like no one wants to like
Right.
like basketball players hate wrestlers and vice versa.
Are you tall in Ohio? Is that what they thought?
I'm a shortest guy in my family. I'm
Right.
6 foot, 6'1".
You're a fighter. You were probably holding the basketball wrong. I don't know. I'm not allowed to hit the guy. This isn't gonna work. I want to return this item.
It doesn't like it's like playing the games like that. It's like playing video games to me. Like maybe it's like a little fun, but like what application is there to
Right.
that? Like it's like I don't know.
Right.
Like fighting and wrestling and jiu-jitsu and boxing are like the most like primal things to me. So that's just what I like. I've always been drawn to. But now my mom went from like absolutely hating it to now she's like the biggest wrestling fan in the world. She's
walking around the house with a gi.
Yeah, she doesn't understand jiu-jitsu yet. She hasn't been around. She hasn't come to anything yet. But she's a huge MMA fan, huge wrestling fan. She like still follows all the wrestling stuff, but I don't follow at all anymore. Yeah, me and my mom.
And at that point in my life, I was like moving away from MMA because I had been so exhausted of being an MMA coach because it's very unrewarding. It's very demanding. It's very unrewarding. And I kind of had it like, oh, I got this kid. It's going to be the next UFC champion. I'd heard that so many times in my life. It's almost like if you're a fight promoter, you hear this every day.
Right.
You know, like if you're a coach, it's not so different. You hear this every day. And I didn't want anything to do with, nothing to do with Max first. I didn't want to do with MMA at that point.
Right.
Yeah, I'd spent so much time and energy training these guys, and it's like, it got me nowhere. You know, it's a very strange dynamic where the coach is working for the fighter versus, you know, the fighter doing what the coach says, you know, and I never liked that dynamic. You know, the way I see things is kind of like what would be wrestling practice in college. The coach says, the fighter or the wrestler shuts the fuck up and does it. It's that simple, you know, like there's not, basketball is the same.
Right.
But in MMA you have this reverse mentality where the fighter is the boss and the coach is like, oh, okay, I'll do whatever you want me to do because I'm the yes man. And I just want to get paid at the end of the fight. I don't like that. I never liked that. I got kicked around a bunch by these guys. I just didn't like it. So I moved away. Max sought me out, and he said that I blew him off. I didn't blow him off. I didn't want anything to do with MMA. To be honest. I had no more MMA classes in my gym. I wasn't cornering. I wasn't training people at all. But he kept coming back. He was coming to my jiu-jitsu class, and I could see that he was really interested. He had the right attitude. It wasn't just the technical aspects, but he had the right attitude. He's coachable. It's very difficult to work with people who are not coachable because I feel like, what am I doing here? If you don't listen to me, if you don't trust me, then you got to find someone. You need, for your own sake, you need to find someone who you listen to, who you trust.
Right.
You know, and then he had these aspects. So like slowly I started, you know, getting back into it, and so now we got an MMA program back in the gym. So it's growing. So I mean, he's the one who got it kick-started because I didn't want anything to do with it.
So, Coach, what are some of the elements that you see in preparing Max? And, you know, is it just fighting?
I think that immediately what catches the eye from either the spectators or even most coaches and fighters, you know, promoters, everyone focuses on, you know, the fighter's performance. You know, oh, he made a mistake this fight because he couldn't take the guy down, he got caught with a left hook, or, you know, they're looking at the technical aspects. We're a huge part of that equation. They're just not the only aspect of what's going on. And being around MMA, you know, for all these years as a trainer, involved in commentating, as a fighter, like from all these different perspectives, I can see things as a fan, you know, I can see things from a number of different angles. And what I see when it comes to performance and results, it's not just the fighting. You know, I think that's a limited way of looking at things. There's a lot going on in the fighter's personal life, you know, everything from his emotional support, the people that are around him. You know, I truly believe that his personal life has to be in order for him to succeed on the mats, because everyone talks about it's all mental. And it's true, but where does the mental stability come from? It comes from having support and the right people in your life. Because if that is out of whack, you are unable to focus 100% of your mental energy where it should be focused. In other words, for every ounce of energy you take away from your training because you're worried about something that's going on in your life,
Right.
you're taken away from your ability to perform in order to, like, because you're worried about, something else that you shouldn't be stressing you out, right? So 100% of his stress has to be focused on how to take this guy down and choke him out. That's 100% of his focus, right? And if he takes away from that, he's losing. So my job as a coach is to try to help take away, remove as much of this BS as possible, and focus on the mission like the laser beam.
You guys are amazing. Thanks for having me
Thank
so
you very
much.
much.
Thank
Thank
you,
you,
Rob.
man.
Thank you, Coach. In the land of giants, Coach Drysdale and the future champ, Max.